You could come with us.
You guys get to go wherever you want. That's the life. It's just not my life.
Now, we all know the story of Toph, the most badass girl in the Earth Kingdom and esteemed Sifu of Avatar Aang. She made her epic debut early in Book 2 of Avatar The Last Airbender to near instant fan favorite status. What if Toph had joined Team Avatar a little earlier? The basic premise of this what if is that Aang and the gang run into Toph sometime in Book 1 instead of Book 2. For the sake of consistency, I've chosen to set their meeting in Omashu prior to the events of Episode 5. Toph is traveling to Omashu with her parents to take care of some aristocratic business. There, Toph meets Aang, Sokka, and Katara as they don disguises in order to get into Omashu. Toph can sense that they are in disguises, pretending to be strangers, but she doesn't say anything because she finds it funny. In fact, there's something to the one pretending to be an old man. In some ways, he reminds Toph of herself. Fun, she thinks. That guy's the most fun person I've seen in a long time. Too bad though. The whole reason she's there is to sit through some long, boring meeting that's destined to take the better part of an entire day. Luckily, Toph has an idea in mind on how to fix that. Later, as Aang is showing Sokka and Katara the funnest way to get around Omashu, Toph is busy sneaking away from her father's boring meeting. The adults are so caught up in discussing business affairs that none of them notice Toph leave the meeting table. She knew that part would be easy. The hard part would be sneaking past the guards stationed outside. However, Toph isn't actually considering just walking out in the open. Using her incredible earthbending skills, she easily excavates a subterranean path to sneak quietly away from the slog of the surface. Within moments, she slipped seamlessly past the guardsmen, who are none the wiser. Now that Toph is free, she plans to attend the earthbending tournament she overheard would be touring in Omashu that week. She takes a second to take in her environment, using her enhanced earthbending senses. The city is magnificent and incredibly dense. Just as Toph's located the earthbending tournament on the other side of town, she's knocked to her feet by a great rush of wind. As she regains her feet, she hears the voice of the boy from the front gates say sorry in a very high pitch. Okay, thinks Toph. Revenge first, tournament second. So as not to be spotted, Toph decides to travel underground again, tunneling under the city, ever closer to Aang, Sokka, and Katara in the Earth mail cart. It gets a bit difficult to keep up with them, what with all the flying through the air, but eventually Toph locates them being apprehended by Earth Kingdom guards. Toph listens into their conversation and hears that they will be taken to the king. Toph's never met the guy, but her dad has, so she knows he's a real piece of work. Those guys are in real trouble, she thinks. She considers turning back to go to the Earth tournament, but decides against it. This guy's too much fun. Save his butt first, revenge second, tournament third. As Team Avatar is in prison and distracted with their feast, Toph manages to tunnel directly into the royal palace. Easier than I imagined, she thinks to herself. Just as she is pulling herself out of a tunnel in the earth, she senses a massive shift of earth hit her side. She instantly moves to retaliate, only to come face to face with King Bumi in his personal chamber. Don't you know not to sneak up on old people, little girl? Says Bumi. Toph starts to bend a huge boulder up from the ground, but Bumi dissolves the earth beneath her feet, stopping her in her tracks. Toph starts to yell, but Bumi shushes her silent. Quiet! Don't you know we got important guests? Yes, says Toph. You mean that boy you kidnapped? Well, kidnapped is a bit much, isn't it? Says Bumi. I'm merely teaching him a lesson. I can't have you ruin that lesson by throwing a rock party with you. I'll bust him out of here, old man. I don't care about your crazy games, says Toph. Says Bumi. You've clearly got some guts to challenge me. Tell you what, I've got a proposition for you. Meanwhile, back with Team Avatar, the events of episode 5 take place exactly the same as in the show. Aang has to solve all of Bumi's riddles until he eventually challenges him to a fight. Aang fights Bumi to a standstill, and Bumi releases Katara and Sokka. Afterwards, Bumi starts to explain to Aang his importance and how he must think like a mad genius. However, halfway through the conversation, a massive pillar of rock flies past both Bumi and Aang. Toph enters the room, fuming with anger. "You promised me the fight of my life," she screams. "And now you're fighting him?" Everyone stares at Toph in bewilderment, except Bumi, who wears a crazy grimace. For a while, nobody speaks until Aang says, "I'm sorry, but who are you?" Now that's going to be the end of part 1 of this What If. As always, please like, subscribe, and especially comment if you want to see a part 2 of this What If.